Alrighty, this We the People News. Not attorney, not giving legal advice. Okay? Anything is going on, what I say or what this video says is hearsay. Do your own research. Never look just straight forward. Always look around you. Be able to protect yourself by any means necessary. Right? This video is going to have you actually think outside the box. And that's what we need to do. Okay? We need to reset our minds. Okay? And quit going by hearsay. Do your own research. Okay? Use that Second Amendment. Arm yourself with knowledge. Alright, so this video is with Gene, okay, Jenn, the Liberty Lion. I actually like the name, y'all. Okay, let's go.
Hello and Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Hopefully this year will be better than the last year. So in this video, I want to bring in the new year by helping people understand what has been known for thousands of years or since the first legal system was created. And that is that all legal things are fictions. What is real? Things that seem real can be complete fictions. This video presentation is concerning the legal system as fiction. It has long been known that most things people believe to be real are not real. They are fictions. The writers of fiction, who are trained lawyers, attorneys, and judges, have a superpower when it comes to writing legal papers or making legal arguments that sound factual when they are actually complete fictions. There is a definite line between authentic and inauthentic when it comes to man and his fictions. I have read a few books and some papers on this, and as I move through these philosophies, it becomes more and more apparent that most of what is written on paper, even what seems factual, are actually fictions. The idea that quote-unquote legal things, such as legal names, the one on your birth certificate, legal corporations which live into perpetuity, legal statutes, legal money, legal ideas, or abstracts, legal trusts, are all in fact fictions. For one, a legal name is not the name of an actual human being. This is a lawful name, a Christian name, a given name, a family name, etc., but not a legal name. A corporation which lives into perpetuity as well as legal trusts can never die. Things that never die can never actually live. Things that do not live have no life and therefore are fictions. They are theater. Legal money is not real money, as we know. Only gold and silver can be real money. Abstracts, of course, are not real. In this video, I hope to explain well enough that anyone can understand that legal fictions, including legal persons, are fictions. This has been known for a very long time. In fact, almost since the inception of the legal system. In Justinian's code, Justinian wrote of a way for man to be in harmony with nature. He wrote how people should live a certain way so that they do not inbreed, how certain members of families cannot intermarry, how a slave must be given the chance to be freed, or as it was called, manumitted, how a baby is not automatically born into slavery, and other common sense things, so that man could remain in harmony with nature. However, many of the laws today, including the founding documents, are simply selling abstract ideas, legal fictions. I do declare.
Alright, so, and it gets you to kind of start thinking outside the box even more. So, I'm in the 50s, okay? Now, 60 years ago, there was a representative that people voted for, all right? And they went and passed alleged laws. But how did them representatives in the past represent me today? Sit and think about that. And how my representative that I have today, how do they actually represent my offspring tomorrow? Sit and think about that, y'all. So we all got these representatives out there, but their time is going to be up. I had a different representative just a couple years ago. I'm led to believe and do believe that he's a better representative than what I have today. However, even today's representative, when I called him, I particularly asked, and I didn't call him today, but about a month ago, I said, please clarify to me how you actually represent me by signing a law that I do not believe in. Can you clear that for me?
If the law declares something, does the law declaring it make it a truth? If the law declares something to be true, is it in fact true? If the law declares that a thing being recorded makes it into a notification, can you be considered to have been notified about something simply because it is recorded? Can the law make something real simply because it is recorded? What if records are hidden in some obscure place? What if the law states that something must be recorded, and recording the thing is notification, but the word record or recorded or recording is not defined within the law? Then, quote unquote, recorded could be thrown in the trash.
And there we go on that behalf right there. Rewind it and re-listen, right? There is no law in the United States that I'm aware of any state that you actually have to register any of your property, but especially your private property. It does not exist. And the reason why it does not exist, because it would be unconstitutional.
So the statutes can state a thing must be recorded, and recording it is notification. Would mean, in layman's terms, a thing thrown in the trash is notification. How can you be notified if it was thrown in the trash? I guess that would depend on what quote unquote notification means. In 1912, Morris Cohen said this: Consider how much would our controversy over the nature of truth have been enriched if, instead of our easy dictamous divisions of proportions or propositions into the true and false, we have taken notice that what lawyers call legal fictions. Such propositions occur, for instance, when we say that the Constitution is the will of the people, or that judges simply declare and never make the law. Or when we say the innocent purchaser of a chattel subject to mortgage has had notice of this fact, if only the mortgage is duly recorded. These propositions, like the statement of the actor, "I am thy father's spirit," are not adequately characterized when we say merely that they are true or that they are false. End quote. Therefore, many things can be claimed, written, declared, etc., but doing so does not make it so, does not make it actual, factual, and real. We must use common sense. Concept or reality, theory or fact, illusions or truth. Judicial opinions are based on a variety of fictions. The language in the law is often fiction without people realizing it. So we have a legal system that is written as fictions, fictions being metaphors. The various departments interpret the fictions. The court write opinions, which are fictions based on an interpretation, which is a fiction based on a legal writing, legislation, which is also a fiction.
Which is also absolute vague, ambiguous, absolutely.
We end up with a fiction of a fiction of a fiction at the very least. Lon Fuller, in his book, Legal Fictions, says, quote, fictions are to be found not only in the opinions of judges, but in the critical treatises written by men free from any of the influences that supposedly restrain the judge and warp his expression, end quote. In the book Constitutional Law as Fiction, author LaRue writes, quote, the authors of judicial opinions intend to persuade the reader that the result reached is right. These opinions contain fictions. The use of fiction is essential for persuasion, end quote. Therefore, we have opinions written by judges that are meant to persuade that a department or agency interpretation of a legal fiction is true and correct. Colleges and universities promote the confusion of the fiction from reality. Here we have a picture of Harvard Law School. LaRue wrote in his book called Constitutional Law as Fiction that he graduated from Harvard. In his book, he says that when he started practicing law, he realized that what he learned at Harvard was wrong. That's because colleges and universities promote the teaching of all sorts of fictions as if they were truths. Most importantly, they teach fictions as if they were factual. We live in a fictional world. All the world is a stage. The ancient definition of person is mask. Law without fiction. Has it not been found possible to dispense of fiction in law? There is no way to have a legal system without fiction. When the Articles of Confederation were written, many of the states did not send representatives to the Confederate Congress because there was no force within the Articles of Confederation to force men to show up. When the 16-year-old boy did not show up to fight in the Revolutionary War, it was because there was no force within the law. As a free, sovereign, and independent people, there was no such thing as quote-unquote conscription or quote-unquote draft. Conscription and draft goes against freedom. The Constitution was written by the representatives who did show up for Congress to force the others who didn't want to show up. This is why the Constitution was written. It conveyed and allowed the president to order members of the military of the United States and allowed him to appoint officers as the President of the United States of America, the executive officer of the states. The Federation and its legal system allows men use the idea of a draft or conscription, which does not actually exist in a free society, to compel men to show up for war. Without the emotions, the fear, the anger, the idea of power, men will not act unless it benefits him. The same is true for a legal system. It is used to compel men not to speed on the highways, not to steal from one another, to pay taxes, and compels religious men to show up to church and pay their tithes. Fictions are a type of sales pitch to which men have an emotional response and act accordingly. Looking at the fictions, examples we see in fictions. The function of speech is to influence the soul. However,
So even then, right, how can you be in the United States of a free country when we have armed people threaten you every 10 minutes? of some shape, form, or fashion. I don't have to have a cop beside me. There's a fiction piece of paper saying that officer can pull out his arms and harm me. Even if I'm in my own house and they come and actually do a no knock warrant search. And I'm in bed and I pull out my arm and I get in trouble for doing something after someone was breaking into my house because they have a uniform under the fiction of law.
Have you ever known someone completely insane, someone with such screwed up morals to be influenceable? Do you think anyone could have said anything or written anything to Jeffrey Dahmer to make him feel compelled to stop killing and eating other people? Probably not. Therefore, if the legal system is to compel men, already good, it does nothing, because good men do not need a legal system. If the legal system is to compel bad men to do good, and bad men are not compelled by the system does no good. Therefore, the legal system does no good. It only gives...
I mean, really, think outside the box, people. Think about that right there. We hear arguments all the time that bad guys, if the government says they can't be armed or anything, okay, they don't go by the law. So how does that law actually do any good? All that law did is violate your rights. Because you are a good man. And to be a good man, and you was compelled under threat of arms, you have to go get a permit. Just saying.
Some men, a pretended authority or a fictional or metaphorical authority to do things that end up injuring real men and women. Rhetoric, the story of persuasive speech and writing. Rhetoric, the ability, in each case, to see all of the available means of persuasion, by Aristotle. Law is persuasion, known since Aristotle. Aristotle has written much on rhetoric and law. Socrates makes an analogous argument in Plato's Phaedrus. Plato has Socrates tell Phaedra that it does no good to say that a speech should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, or that a speech should be sublime or common in its diction, or rapid or deliberate in its delivery. All such generalizations are of no value unless one knows when and how to use them, which in turn requires one to know the conditions of the human soul and how and why the soul can be moved. Therefore, the function of speech is to influence the soul. Legal systems are speech, and speech is to influence the soul. Court opinions are speech, and court opinions are to influence the soul. The opinion of a court is therefore a sales pitch to get others to accept it as fact, when it is all just rhetoric, or that is fictions, and later we will see metaphorical. Constitutional law as fiction. Court opinions by LaRue. In his book he states, "The proud towers of the law are built not on the level bedrock of fact, but on the perplexed terrain of fiction. That judicial opinions are filled with stories that purport to be factual, but that instead are fictional, and furthermore, that these fictions, could not be eliminated without crippling the legal enterprise. So, in other words, the legal enterprise is nothing without your belief in it and your movement of your soul. Statute authorizing a fiction. Mr. Justice Black delivered the opinion of the court. A New Jersey statute authorizes. How can a writing written to persuade, call a statute, quote unquote, authorize anything? Often, while raising children, the children would conspire to get into trouble together. With fathers being at work most of the time, a mother might have to put on airs as if she were mean to get them not to kill each other. She might have had often behaved as if she were very angry over a small issue in order to keep them from committing a worse act. This would work most of the time. Some parents use emotions as a means to control their children, such as, if you don't clean your room, your father will be very angry when he gets home. The government is no different. Statutes themselves are just words on paper, backed by a force called police, sheriff, or military. But what the statutes themselves are is pure fiction. The acts committed upon someone who has disobeyed the fiction is real. Pain is not a fiction. Death is not a fiction. Prison is not a fiction, etc. However, the legal system is. And that means that the so-called authority by the statutes given to the police, the sheriff, and the military are also fictions. We have fictions, if not followed, are followed by real pain, real court fees, real embarrassment, real prison time, etc.
Real harm. So, in short, due to the fictions, they are causing harm upon and trespass and battery and domestic abuse on the free men and women. Diesel We the People News. Bye, y'all.